What's going on, YouTube? I'm the type of guy that when I'm doing a mechanic job, I like to look on YouTube just to get any pointers, tips, and tricks to make the job faster. And I've got a 2008 6.4 powerstroke diesel in here, and I could not find any videos on how to get the AC compressor off, so I'm just going to make a quick video real quick about some tips and tricks of me doing the job. I've seen a bunch of people say you've got to pull the motor out, this and that, but you ain't got to do none of that. So here we go. First thing you want to do is vacuum down the system and catch it. Don't release it out into the air. I definitely didn't do that. So you can see the compressor way down in here. Once you get there, this one had a cold air intake. Once you get that off, you can get to the compressor bolts right there, or the lines that go into the compressor bolt. There's two of them. And if you take, we're doing a full replacement on this truck, so if you take this inner fender wheel out, I've already took it out. I've got it just laying on the tire with a towel here so it don't eat my arm up. You can get a little better access to, if you want to take the alternator off. I'm gonna try to do it without it. I'll let y'all know here in a little bit. But if you're replacing the dryer and orifice tube and stuff like we are, you can get to these lines real easy going into the firewall and the dryer. So I'm underneath it right now, and you can see the compressor right there. The belt tensioner for it is right there. It's two separate belts, and I'm gonna go ahead and get this steering stabilizer shock out of the way. It's a 15 millimeter. I used a swivel on the impact. I don't know if it's necessary, but I'm gonna go ahead and get it out of the way to give me a little more room to work in there. That looks a lot nicer. I came from the bottom side and put that socket, 13 millimeter deep well, on the bottom line. I'm not sure if it's the suction or the pressure line, but put it on from the bottom, and then I'm gonna go to the top and hit it with a longer extension. It's easier to put it in from the bottom. We'll meet you up top. So this is the setup back at the top side. I got my impact. I got a Craftsman low profile swivel, a very short extension to get past the line, and a 13 millimeter deep well. And I've already busted it loose. It's all the way loose. So that'll get that would be the pressure line. This is my setup right here. If y'all don't own one of these Craftsman low profile swivels, it's money well spent, as well as one of these short stubby extensions. I mean, this thing, I'm not paid by Craftsman, but I'll show you the difference here. Them little bitty short extensions make life easy when a regular extension is too long or too short or whatever, so it gives you different options. But this low profile swivel versus most brands, this is the difference here. I mean, you can see the difference. It's huge. Gives you a lot more room. And I've put this thing through hell and it hasn't broke yet. All right, I'm on the dryer over here. I did the same thing with that other line from the top. Put the socket on from the top with the swivel, same exact setup. Got the suction line off the compressor. This dryer has a little plastic cover on it. These little clips will go flying, but basically I just took a little flathead screwdriver, and I know it's not focusing very good. There's one right there, that's the bottom. There's one right there. There's one on the top, right there. Screwdriver's pointing at it right there. And then there's one on the back side, back in this corner over here. Can't quite see it yet. That'll get that plastic cover off. I already undid the wire and harness on it right here. All right, I'm on the dryer, and you better just have your patience and your A game ready when you get to this part, because this is a PIA. This is a 7/8 line tool. Put you a little WD-40. I use PB Blaster in there before you even start. Your clips that hold them on. This is the This is the one for the bottom line. I'm looking for the Orifice tube. I don't know exactly where it's at, so I may have to take that one out, but you push both these in at the same time and just push on this part like this. The top one, not sure where it went. There it is. It's a metal one. Just push on these two parts right here, get it lined up, push off. I got that inner fender out, so it's a lot easier to get in here, but before you go to try to pushing the line wrench in there, put you some WD-40 in there and push the two together like this before you start pushing this line wrench in there. I found that helps. And this, you just kind of, it's tough to get in here. I definitely can't hold the camera, but I used one hand to twist this back and forth as I pushed with my two fingers on this one. And then when I got it, what felt like bottomed out, I went up here to the top and was able to stick my hand down in here and got cut up and everything, but was able to just pull on that line. And you're not just pulling, you're twisting, you're doing everything you could do to just try to get that thing to move out. If it don't work, go back down, set your line tool, and try it again. But there's a 13 millimeter right here, and that will get us to the dryer. Now I've got to try to finagle it out of here. I might have to take this heater core hose off. I'll let y'all know here in a minute. All right, I found the Orifice tube. I did get the old dryer out. I had to pull this top heater hose out, and I was able to finagle it around the bottom one. But on that top heater hose, you just you push them two little pins in, push this one in, push this one in. You may have to wiggle the hose a little bit to get them to break free, and then it just pulls right off. Just be very careful with it. And this is the Orifice tube. It's down up in there. Get you needle nose pliers. I'm hoping that this one will get it out of there. Let's see. Yep. I knew that was too good to be true to get that right on the first shot. All right, let's see here. These are too big. And I'm not sure if I got a set. Let me go look. So that's the part that broke off up in here. But it's threaded on one end, and then it's got a flexible rubber hose that goes back behind the dryer and then ties into the firewall right there. So it's not that short, but you can see the little crimp right there, and that thing was probably in there like that deep. So you can see where that crimp is. I was thinking about just taking a drill bit, drilling it out, take the line off, we could blow it out. Take a drill bit just a little bit smaller than this. Try not to hit the edges and shit. All right, got the new dryer in. Don't forget to swap your sensor back over and plug your heater core back up. But pick all your little clips up off the floor that went flying everywhere. Get your plastic piece back in position. I'm not gonna be able to do it with one hand, but tie everything back together. When you push these back in, don't forget your clips down here. When you push these back in, do not forget to pull out to make sure that they're locked in place. Sometimes you think you got them bottom out, it won't, they'll pull back out. So before we do that, the Orifice tube, I had a little trouble getting. I'm sorry, I forgot to record it, but when I was trying to pull it out with the needle nose pliers, it broke and couldn't reach in there anymore. So what I should have done first is heated it up, heat the aluminum tube up to release those O-rings. You just heat it up all right here and where that crimp is, kind of just heat everything up right there, and it'll expand that aluminum where it'll pull right out. So instead I had to pull this tube completely off. I took a drill bit and I was careful not to scratch the edge, and drilled it out, was able to get it out, and I took some real fine emery cloth and cleaned up the wall where the O-ring rides, and I got the new Orifice tube in. So I'm gonna put these little clips back on this, and we'll move on to getting the compressor off. All right, it's time to work on getting the compressor off. First, we gotta get the belt off. I got my gear wrench serpentine belt tool kit. I I've got the ratchet up there just in the straight lock position. There ain't nothing to this. This makes life so much easier. I'll show y'all the tools here in just a second once I get it off, but it ain't gonna be nothing. I could probably do it one hand. Let's see if I can make this thing stop rolling. I ain't gonna be able to do it one hand, but I'll show y'all. I'll probably just leave the wrench on there to make life a little easier as far as putting it back on, but I got the belt off, and there's 3 10mm bolts. I've already got the electrical plug unconnected, if you can see it right there. Now we got 3 10mm bolts, one right there, and one right there. I think I can actually use the swivel and impact and get all of them. I won't have to use any fancy tool. Right here tricked me. This cross member is whole under here, and so you can't get to it. So I'm gonna use a swivel. I already broke that one loose. I put it back in to hold the compressor up to make getting that one out easier. So I'm going to use a swivel 10mm wrench and get that out of there. All right, we got the compressor out. So once you get the third bolt out, just kind of slide the compressor away from the motor, that way, and then toward the front of the vehicle, and then just kind of roll the clutch down just like it is right there, and it'll come right out. You kind of got to finagle around this line right here, finagle around this belt and this, but it comes out very moderately easy, I should say. And we're leaking oil and dying everything everywhere, but so that line right there, I recommend you. I could not get it off from the top because without taking the alternator off, which I think that's why most people take the alternator off, but I left the alternator on. Is what I'm gonna do is, before I bolt it in place, I'm gonna set it up in there. I'm gonna go back to the top, and I'm gonna line that line up on the stud and make sure that I can get it bolted in before I bolt it to the block. So just make sure you pay attention to that. All right, a couple things I forgot to mention. The first was I took this big wire, ground wire right here, was connected to the block right there. I took that off, 15mm bolt. That way the compressor will come out easier. And then this top bolt right here on the compressor, it had to stay in the whole way out. So guess what that means? That means it needs to stay in on the whole way in, or you won't have room to get it in. So, and then this bottom bolt, the back bottom bolt, I took out midway. It was hanging up on everything, so I took it out midway. So that means it needs to go back in midway. I'm actually going to try to put it in now and see if I can't get in, but there's no room to get those two out up there. So make sure they go in. And of course, like I said before, make sure that if you don't have your alternator off, you get this lined up on the stud before you bolt it down in there. Get it completely in place, get it lined up on the stud. I got a cap in this one because the oil that I put in it was already trying to get out. This thing takes 9 ounces of oil, so I've already added the oil to the compressor. All right, after an aggravating hour and a half getting this compressor back in, it is a pain in the butt getting the bolts lined all back up while getting that line lined up. And before you get that compressor pushed back in, make sure all 3 bolts are in, not just that top and bottom, where all 3's got to be in, because you can't get any of them in while it's in place. Got the belt back on, put your ground wire back on. Still got to get this shock back on, and we'll be done with that. This is my This is my belt removal tensioner tool. I put this up in there. This right here is a flex head and a ratchet, and this can break loose as well. But this kit comes in handy, these diesels, where they're real big, especially if you're working on a 6.7 power stroke. I mean, these things make life so much easier. All right, I took off, went to work, and forgot to tell you all about the condenser, but there's just a clip right there. Bolt, 2 13mm lines for the Freon lines. There's a clip there. You got to pull these studs out because it won't clear when it comes up through the top of this. So pull them out, and look at that thing, man. Thing needs from Viagra, straight from AutoZone, all bent up. But it was sealed. When I pulled the caps that they had over off, air blew out, so it was pressurized. So it's a good sealed condenser. And I couldn't get all my oil in the compressor, the full. It came with 3 ounces. I couldn't quite get in 6 ounces, so I put the rest of it in the condenser before I put it in. And we fixed them to vacuum the system down, make sure it's sealed, and give it a charge. Must be cold in there. Got the windows frosted up.